Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me in another of my monologues. I was sent a video the other day, shared by probably lots of different people, of a farmer who was having to empty his tank of milk. He's a farmer, I don't know how many cows he has, but he has a contract with a large company that then takes the milk, turns it into dairy products, whatever that might be. And it seems that the processing plant where the milk goes had a technical problem. At least that's the story. I don't know how true that is. I don't know whether that's just make-believe. It may well be true. It probably happens from time to time. And the problem the farmer had was with his contract, this big company, this big processor who turns it into cheese, milk, not necessarily the milk you want to drink, of course, because it's pasteurized, homogenized and standardized. It's not raw milk, so it's gone through a process, but nonetheless, and ends up in the supermarkets, presumably. Because it's a big company and he has this big contract, this farmer, and they were no longer taking the milk. And while he may get compensated, who knows, a little bit by not being able to take the milk that the contract deemed necessary, he is tipping this milk, huge quantities of this milk, basically down the drain. And this chap was absolutely almost suicidal. I was watching this video, and he said, you know, why are we doing this? Why are we trying to make food? And they had restrictions, of course, of where he could sell. He couldn't just give the milk away because of the terms of the contract, as far as I understand. And if I've got that wrong, I apologise. But of course, milk is a perishable commodity. And as a result, you can't just suddenly go, oh, I'll quickly do it and make something else, because he's not set up to do that. He's got the terms of the contract, and they're losing money. They're not making the product that they sell, the milk, at a commercial rate that makes it sustainable. And he's not the only one. A number of farmers would have been put into this situation, throwing their arms up, going, you know, for 2 weeks, having to throw milk away. Cows on his farm, because they're not at calf, have to be milked twice a day. So he may have 2 big tanks. Once they're full, you can only store it for a certain amount of time before it starts to go off, and it's then not saleable, and you're stuffed. And this is one of the things that's happening to farmers. Obviously not all farmers, but farmers with cows. Now, the skeptic in me, because we've seen recent events where farmers are being attacked anyway, and we know, do we not, that there is that the government, let's say, doesn't seem to be favouring farmers. I'm being mealy-mouthed with my words, and we know that there is larger agendas at stake that really would like to see the end of the dairy industry to save the planet, you understand, because, you know, cows fart. And as a result of that, we should get rid of them all. It seems to be the plan, which is the most ridiculous notion that anyone's ever heard. And why people aren't just laughing in the streets at this, why people even take this seriously, is beyond me. But then I have learnt that in recent times, people take seriously the most ridiculous notions that we knew to be true yesterday, but all of a sudden today we're all taking very seriously as if it's a thing. And I won't mention some of those, but I'm sure that you can think of a few of those things which just seem so laughable. Yet, you know, if you don't take it seriously, you'll have a knock at the door by Mr. Plod. So anyway, so some of these farmers are getting into a destitute situation. They're going bankrupt, and some of them are putting guns to their heads, or they're getting out of farming, and we certainly don't want to see that. And of course, when I see this, my heart goes out to these people, because they don't need to be in this situation. And it seems to me that the whole industry has been going down the wrong path. It seemed like the right path at the time, and it was sold to farmers. And we're at a stage now where farmers are sort of under the thumb. They can't say to the processing plants or the supermarkets, this is the price of the product I'm selling, the food stuff. This is the price. I need to make a profit on it. It costs me this to grow. I need to make this much profit so that I can stay in existence. They can't do that. They've got the government coming down on them saying, well, we want 50% of your inheritance if you're going to leave this to your family. A lot of farmers are in their 60s and thinking of retirement anyway, and their children are thinking, well, I can see all the problems with farming. I don't want to be in that industry. And where does that leave you and I as people who eat food? And we all eat food. And now I hear, just as a by the way, the new guy at the WEF thinks that water should be a product that is sold. Excuse me, we live on God's earth for the sake of, the Creator's earth, the universe, a planet that no man has complete right to. We all have right to it, to the natural resources. No company, no corporation certainly has no right to say, actually, we're going to charge for not only for the water. I can understand treatment plants saying we're going to charge to clean it up. If they actually did clean it up, that would be one thing. But we're actually going to, the next thing will be, oh, and by the way, if you breathe air, we're going to charge you an air tax because, the air's polluted, and every time you breathe out, you're breathing out carbon dioxide. So therefore, that'll be a carbon tax on breath. But going back to it is ludicrous, and why we aren't all laughing at these people, I don't know. And this is the problem. We take it all too seriously and we go, oh God, yeah, we better. But we should be saying, can you not hear yourself? Listen to yourself. It is preposterous what you're saying. It is most ridiculous. Going back to the farmers then, which is the main essence of what I want to talk about in today's video, is that, this is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for us as consumers, as people who eat. And it is a wake-up call for farmers to understand that actually farmers need to provide food for people who will buy it from the farmer's gate, or the consumer, not these processing plants, not the supermarkets, not the oily salesman, the oily snake oil salesman, not those people. People are beginning to wake up, and this is the wake-up call, that actually we want to buy food direct from the farmer, like we used to. It's been the best that you can look at this situation with the high industrialized food processing and things is it's been an interesting experiment trying to turn what was a lifestyle into a business. And I could talk more about that, but I'll leave that for another video, because I know that farmers will go, but it is a business. It's become a business. It's become a business. But I'll leave that. Let's just leave that there. And we have seen this as an experiment to blast the countryside, get rid of the hedges, have bigger farms, have mega farms, they have monoculture, not actually grow fruit and veg, and husbandry the animals that we really want to eat, close to local and seasonal and when we want them, rather than when the farmer can provide them seasonally and all of that. We have seen this experiment where they're spraying the countryside with all sorts of pesticides and insecticides, herbicides, poisons, glyphosate and things like that in order to speed up the process. They've needed to put artificial fertilizer on. They've moved away from mixed farming. They've moved away from what nature does to help build the soil. We've seen the soil depreciate and disappear. There's just so little soil left that you have to put all this artificial on. And we've seen these big conglomerates, the supermarkets and the big black-lock corporations, whatever they're called, coming in and trying to sort of take over and corner the market and turn what should be a family-run business that involves the local people as well, because it's what we all do, we eat. It's not like any other commodity. You know, cars, yep, that's an industry. Making pipes, that's a little craft industry. That's fine. Food, we all have to have food. We should all be engaged. And by engaged, some of us might be working on the farm, some of us might be growing the stuff, but we should be purchasing from and supporting farmers. And we've seen that this experiment has, it had its peak, and then it just became, like so much of corporation stuff, greed beyond all possibility, that actually the people doing the work have been despised, not only by the big corporations, but even by the public, who do not know what farmers do. These are the heroes of the land, and they have been deceived into having these big contracts. And when these big contracts, this next day service type thing fails, whether deliberately or by accident, by a technicality in a processing plant, it's the farmers who have been hemmed in, thinking they're doing the right thing. They have been told this is what you've got to do by government. They've been ruled by ridiculous outfits like DEFRA. This is the wake-up call in which we now start to see, and is a tipping point. And my heart goes out to those farmers who may be going bankrupt, who may be throwing their arms in the air and going, but what do I do? What do I do? And the answer is, we have to restructure what farming is. We have to get back to the basics of farming. It is a service that provides food. It is not a highly industrialized industry. It should never be a highly industrialized conveyor belt style industry. It should be a humanitarian, holistic, wholesome business, not industry, business, small scale business, which we as people who need to eat, and need to eat nutrient full, vitamin full food rather than deficient stuff at the supermarket. We need to get back and entice those farmers to grow for us and tell them this is what we want. Mark Byford is currently on tour with his Fork the System. And the purpose of that is to remind farmers what they grow. So many farmers have got used to growing a commodity. A big lorry turns up, takes their product away. So it is kind of easy, and you can see where, oh yeah, we'll get a subsidy from the government and we'll do this. But when it goes wrong, when that goes wrong, and suddenly you're losing those years of everything you've worked for, it ain't funny anymore. And being reliant on the government and being reliant on the processing plants is just not advisable to be in that situation. And you know, anybody putting their eggs in one basket. We need to get back to those basics of what the farming community used to be. The good news is, and let's have some good news, that we are in that change. We are changing how we perceive food. It's going to be a slow change, because not everybody is awake to everything. And of course, a lot of them have taken a medical intervention, which may have had certain things in it, technical things, which has changed how you think, how they think. Have you seen how people are driving at the moment? Have you seen the sort of jab mentality changing people's things? Because this, whatever it is going across the blood-brain barrier. People are not talking about this microscopic stuff that's floating about. And one has to be careful how you say these things, as we always do on this thing. There is a change, and it's happening, and I'm very optimistic about that. This is turbulence. We are going through the turbulence of change. In order to change and move the ship to where actually land is, of milk and honey, it takes time and it takes a lot of effort, and there's turbulence in the sea, and we are changing that. Of course, sadly, there will be the casualties, and I hate to think of that, but we are going to go through a change. I mean, the end story is the bad guys lose, and the thing is, they know that. That's the the good part that we can take. The bad guys lose. But we've got to get there. And in order to get there, there's a lot of turbulence and a lot of problems. But we will. And people like John Cook at Dora's Dairy, who is selling from the farmer's gate a quality product, raw milk, at Dora's Dairy in Wiltshire. Check him out. He says there's lots of milk at the moment, and it's all good quality, and he doesn't need to tip any of it away. He feeds some of it to the pigs if he gets a glut. And this is what we should be in, a situation where if you've got too much of something, you've got somewhere else to go with that product. I think that we are at a point in history where we're beginning to realise the mistakes of the past. We're slowly correcting them. And the other thing I'd like to say before I finish is we have been dumbed down to think that we are stupid, we are dependent on people in authority, that we have to be on a hamster wheel, that we're almost insignificant. We've been made to feel that way across all sorts of different ways and platforms and things. We're not. What many of us are now beginning to realise is actually we are incredibly powerful. Our thoughts, our minds, our spirituality is really at the heart of this change. There is a huge change going on behind the scenes, and we're winning. As I say, there is turbulence, and we'll see that, and we'll see a lot of negativity in the press, and we'll see a lot of negativity spouting out on alternative media too. But don't let that affect you, because the change is coming, and we, these incredible things that we are in these incredible bodies, this soul in a body, is rising up, and the bad guys cannot win. And we are seeing the future slowly coming, and it's absolutely exciting. Obviously, there are going to be some people who are struggling more than others. But we need to rethink, concentrate on where we want to be, believe we can get there, and by golly, we will. Thank you for listening.